For Creamer Media's Polity, Tabi Madiba, award-winning author Niq Mhlongo joins me to discuss his edited book titled Black Text, Pardon or Ubuntu. Welcome, Niq.
Thank you, Tabi.
Can you explain to our viewers what is black text and how does it affect Africans?
Actually, black text, the term black text is a colloquial term as far as I know. And it's a colloquial term to me, meaning the kind of support, mostly financial support that we give to people that are close to us, more especially family members who are not that well off. So we distribute the wealth, help them out to go on with their daily lives, actually. So we help them out, you help about family members. So it's, as I'm saying, it's a colloquial term, which has got both negative connotation and positive connotation there. So the negative connotation of it is that the word tax itself simply means that you are doing something that you are forced to do it, you know. But the positive connotation of it is that you are doing something to help another member of your family without necessarily looking for a reward, for a payback from them. It affects Africans in a sense that we live in poverty-stricken families, actually, that are structural from apartheid and whatever, they were structural. So it affects us in a sense that we don't have wealth. You keep on giving, you keep on giving. There's always a member of your family that is not doing well and that you are supposed to be looking after. Yeah, so that's how it affects us, but in a negative way. So in a positive way, it encourages the family to be together in most cases. It encourages the family to be together. It increases the spirit of Ubuntu within the family, because the more you help the other person, the more the other person helps another one. So it keeps the family alive in that way.
And how can one avoid letting black text enslave them?
It's by being able to say no to things that are not important within the family. For instance, if somebody asks you to buy a dress for them to go to the funeral or to a wedding, you know, such kind of things, you can easily say no without being subjected to be a black sheep in the family.
Okay, and in your book you say that apartheid government is to be blamed for black tax.
Yeah.
So should today's government be helping to abolish it, and how can they do it?
Actually, I feel like, as you say, it was a structural thing during apartheid for people to be poor. Actually, it was mostly structural. To such giving an example of, migrant labor system, which allowed only men to work, for instance, and then women to be always dependent to men, you know. So in that way, it was structural. In today's government, for instance, whatever they're doing, like for instance, welfare systems and whatever, these are the things that the government is trying to alleviate some of the problems that were created by the apartheid system. So I feel like our government at the moment has to look into these things about the regulation. For instance, they have to regulate some of the things in order to understand that, okay, whenever somebody is employed, there should be equal pay between men and women. For instance, at the moment, there's disparity in terms of payments, for instance. So it's something that some of the things that the government has to look at to regulate and help, because women are suffering double when it comes to this idea of black tax, because they have to look into the family where they originally come from before they get married, if we talk about married women, for instance. So, and also take care of their husbands' families. So some people have been talking about the tax relief that the government can look into. Like for instance, if ever you are supporting lots of people at home and whatever, the tax system should work in a way of looking at how they can relieve you of some of the things that you are doing in terms of when you submit the tax. You have to get a good returns out of it. So lots of things that actually that come out when we talk about the book, when we talk about this black tax, the government intervention that might, it needs to be regulated. One other thing is when we talk about what's happening in South Africa at the moment in terms of why are women suffering double is because black text talks also to the question of safety in the country. So if a lady, for instance, goes to work, you knock off at 6, the streets are not safe, the transport system is not good. So government has to look into that. Actually, those are the things that can alleviate the black tax, because you will not be forced to go and buy a car immediately after first salary, second salary, because you buy a car because you want to be safe. Because the transport system is not safe. So those are the things that government can look into, actually.
And one of your contributors, Angela Makolwa, in her essay argued that every man or woman who bemoans the burden of black tax is in fact a little girl or a little boy who suffers from mild form of amnesia. Do you agree with her?
Yeah, I do. I definitely do. I'm one of the people that say it's not black tax, it's family upliftment, because I'm a product of it as well. For me to be able to go to school, my father passed away in 1989. My brother, he had to take over as a breadwinner in the family, my brothers actually, to make sure that I finish matric, I go to the university. So those are the things that they taught me about Ubuntu. From that kind of help that I got, I also have to extend it to other family members. So I think she's right. I think what she's trying to say is that people should not forget where they come from in terms of all the family help that you have got, or the community help, for instance, the help in terms of safety that we have in the community. So we shouldn't forget those things, actually.
And do you hope that this book will help people speak out about black tax?
Yes, definitely it will. Actually, the debate is going on at the moment. What we're happy about is that every day, almost every day, people are talking about black tax on Twitter, on any social media, Facebook and whatever. They are talking about black tax. It simply tells us that that this is a necessary debate. When we also check it from the book sales, I mean, it's a book that came out 3 weeks ago, or let me say just a month ago, but it's already at number 12 bestseller in South Africa. It simply means that people want to talk about this thing, they want to understand each other. In that, it creates that debate is necessary. It's a debate that will also help, also if it can go into a national level, because these are the things that we have to talk about. We hope that this debate might help to alleviate problems such that we're having of Afrophobia, of femicide, because we'll have to talk. You have to understand that, okay, for a person to come from Zimbabwe coming to South Africa, what is it? They want to support their families back home, and then that's why they will have to work, so they are not necessarily taking our job. So it creates a necessary debate, which is more important in the national discourse today for the country to move forward, actually.
Thank you. Now speaking to one of the contributors, Utlile Tsepane. Welcome, Utlile.
Thank you, Tayo.
Your grandmother was one of the people who paid black tax during apartheid era. What impact did the apartheid system have on black tax?
Not only during apartheid, I think it's still carrying on. She's still paying it. I don't think she's gotten out of that situation. But you are right in terms of that apartheid. There was black tax for her in that sense. It affected her because now she had to rely on the family, in terms of raising children and so forth. I mean, as I mentioned in my essay, when black female teachers got pregnant at that point in time, they had to resign their jobs because, again, because they were married, they were not considered to be permanent, in terms of how the system was set up for them. So it affected her greatly in that sense. You can imagine you've just gotten a child, and then you're not even given an opportunity to create a bond, because now you're not earning a salary. At the 5th month, 6th month of your pregnancy, you had to resign, and now during the course of those months, or in those intervening periods, there's no money coming in. So once the child is a month old, you need to go back to the job. And again, the other thing is that you need to reapply and get into that process and so forth. So even when you see into the essays and some of the other interviews we've done, it affects women greatly. It affects them, not even perhaps double, triple. They felt the brunt of black tax, especially that it stems itself from poverty and structurally so.
Can you tell us more about how your grandmother's house on 1842 Mankurwane Street in Huhudi let black tax in?
Sure. As I was growing up, I mean, I saw a whole lot of times when people were coming in and out. Apparently, some were relatives. There would be a person coming to stay with us for 3 months, and you had to sometimes give way in terms of your bed, in terms of all of those other things. So it was a constant, a trickle of people coming in and out of the house in that sense, at that particular house, 1842 Mankurwane. But besides that, even within the community, what was happening is that, I mentioned again in my essay in terms of how the telephone was used by the community, whether it was with consent, without consent, it is sometimes it's a fine line that people skip or to an extent abuse, and sometimes you don't have a chance. You don't even have a say as a person or as the owner of that because you are helping in that community. But there's those elements of it being burdensome in that sense. I'm remembering one particular incident again in terms of what happened. You'd even find that social workers would call home and ask my grandmother, hey, here's a kid who's got nowhere to go. Will you be able to take that kid in? So it even extended to that end. There was no even payment coming from the Department of Social Work and so forth to say, we are going to help you. It was just one of those things to say, because there's a constant trickle of people coming to your house and so forth, we think you are the best person to help in that sense. So I saw it from the community, from church people, from everyone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And your grandmother taught you a lesson that problems are better tackled and overcome when people come together. Do you agree with her, or do you think this is a burden?
I think people of her, should I say, generation, they just let live. They believe that, as a mantra, people would say, people shall share. We need to help each other in when a person is in trouble, when a person needs food, when a person needs all of that. So they come from that particular generation where they had to hold each other's hands. But things do change in that if we need to be not even philosophical about it, maybe academic about it, there's inflation, things increase and so forth. So as time goes, things change. And it becomes, we cannot at certain points carry on, in that particular fashion to say, you need to help each other. Yes, we need to be helping each other. I agree fully in order to alleviate the situation. But on the other hand, one needs help of other people, be it government, be it the community. So yeah, there needs to be a certain balance. I'm not disagreeing with that particular fact to say we need to be helping each other. But I'm saying there needs to be, it needs to be a two-way street, I give, you give, in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And lastly, can you briefly talk to us about some of the lessons you learned from your grandmother's generosity towards other people?
Yeah, she was a giver, totally. And as you grow up in that particular environment, through those scenes constantly, it becomes almost second nature to you because you see it happening in front of your eyes. And it manifests in that way, and then you think this is the way of life. You begin to even live your life like that, in that way. You know is such a far-fetched term. When somebody needs help, immediately you don't even think about it. How is that? You don't think far as to how it's going to affect you. How is it going to affect your finances and so forth. Only when it is making an impact in that particular sense, then you begin to say, so it becomes almost natural to say, yes, I'm helping a person. Sure.
Thank you.
Right.
That was Niq Mhlongo and Utlwile Tsepane speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about black tax, burden or Ubuntu.